If you do not correct the actions of your daughter, she is through with this school system. We expel her. Doctor, you gotta help me out. They're gonna kick my daughter out of school. They don't like her restlessness or fidgeting. Jillian, I'll be right back to talk to your mom privately. Doctor turns the radio on. The mother and the doctor leave. They gaze at Jillian dancing gleefully. Mrs. Lynn, there's not a darn thing wrong with your daughter. She is a dancer. She is not sick. She is a dancer. Send her to dancing school. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, Madam Mr. Contest Master, whoops! Why is it that we have individuals who continue to tell us what we can and cannot? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jillian Lynn, however you ought to. Jillian Lynn is a famous choreographer. In fact, she was the choreographer for Cats and Phantom of the Opera. And for these school people that were planning on throwing her out of the school, I love reminding those teachers, Jillian Lynn's a millionaire, and you're not. See, society is completely filled with what you can and cannot do. I remember that because when I was in kindergarten, I was a trouble child. I know that's a surprise to most people. Mr. and Mrs. Stafford, there's nothing wrong with your son. However, if he is the least bit interested, an epiphany from God will not move him. However, if he's bound and determined for something, stand clear, because he'll knock anyone out of his way. As my fiancée will remind you, I was reasonably successful because I was the only honor roll student in Churchill Junior High that had the caveat of being the only honor roll student who spent his homeroom in the principal's office. That was Principal LaRosse's fault because he kept giving me coffee. I considered that a reward. It is amazing when it comes to us to develop how we preoccupy our judgment of others instead of learning the coaching mentality. There was a boy named Al who was considered ADD, adult, stupid, or confused. And interesting enough, they were going to expel him because after he went to 3 schools, they did expel him. Man, your son's unteachable. Well, sir, how dare I expose my child to your toxic ideology and your cancerous ideas? None of you, as educators, will poison my son's creative talent or talent genius. This individual that the schoolmasters and teachers hate has 1,903 U.S. patents to his name. He's considered the best American entrepreneur that ever lived in this country. Any takers as to who I'm talking about? Sorry? Thomas Edison, the poster child of ADDHD, hyperactive mystic. Because one of the things that his mother instilled in him, and it's the same thing that my parents instilled in me, which is the same thing you heard on Star Trek, or sorry, not Star Trek, Star Wars. Yoda, there's do not. There is no try. Now in my house, do not, and my father, you can get the picture, kind of pounded that in me. But I came out all right, I wasn't disturbed. Society boxes us in as to who we can and cannot be, which is why I often love Dana Lamont when he made the remark, you know, it's amazing what people say I can and cannot do. You can't be a mathematician, you're blind. Dana, you can't be a lawyer, you're blind. Yet he has a degree in mathematics from Yale and a law degree from the University of Southern California. What resonated with me, and you should have been there with that Breakfast of Champions, where you should have listened to Dana and make the statement, now as a black and blind man, it's amazing what I could do. I came to a church and I was going to give a motivational speech. They brought me up to a piano thinking I was going to sing and play like Stevie Wonder. I just called to say I love you. Funny you should say that. That's exactly what I sang when they brought me up to the piano. Society's told numerous stories about success based on perseverance. Calvin Coolidge, in his inaugural address, used the anonymous quote, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. The world is filled with unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is filled with educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved, always will solve the problems of the human race." A fellow Toastmaster, Stevie Jones, "Tallest man you can ever see, scared the heck out of any NFL football player because he was massive. We nicknamed him Landmark." However, there was one problem with Stevie. He couldn't put two words together in a sentence. He had a speech impediment. I coached him in table topics in which he advanced to the divisions and placed. 2 words became 15. Then I orchestrated where he beat me in humorous speech competition. And the first 3 words that came out of his mouth in joy, "I beat Glenn!" That gave him the motivation to win both the area and division contest. He should have won the districts or placed in districts. However, we won't talk about judges. No offense to you judges. I thought he delivered an excellent speech. What's important was when I came up to Stevie and said, "Stevie, you got nothing to be embarrassed. You performed brilliantly tonight." Stevie went up and looked at me, "Glenn, I can't thank you enough. People used to make fun of me that I talked like Daffy Duck, and shut up. You taught me success comes with cans, not cannots." Mr. Contest Master.